Hello and welcome to the TTI Distribution Download, the podcast where we talk about all things happening in the world of electronic components with the specialists of TTI. Today it's another installment of Big Ideas and Little Known Facts about connectors with John Sandy of TTI and Dan Venuto of Molex.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to our show with John Sandy of TTI and myself, Dan Venuto with Molex. Today, we are fortunate to have Brent Bulger joining us, who's the Corporate Product Director here at TTI, and he's going to help us understand what makes the TTI and Molex partnership so unbeatable.
So, hey, Brent, good to see you. Before we get into the product details and start talking about Molex and TTI, why don't you give our audience a little bit of an insight of who Brent Bulger is and what your background looks like?
Yeah, so I've been in the industry about going on 28, 29 years now. Have been with TTI for 9 of that. When I started in the industry, I started with a company by the name of Hallmark. And literally within a few days, Avnet had acquired Hallmark. So it was kind of interesting. I'm here on my first job and a couple of days in and get acquired by a new company and went and saw my boss and said, hey, what's this mean for me? And just his reaction was just kind of funny, being the new guy. He's just like, don't worry, just go back and sit at your desk and do your job and everything will be fine. So it's obviously here I am, many years later and still hanging out in the industry. So it worked out very well.
No, that's great, Brent. I know you mentioned you started with Hallmark. Was this, some of the stories I've heard being a newer person in the industry the last 10 years, did you use the punch card system to keep track of the inventory?
It's funny. It's funny you say that. And yes, it actually we did. And that was sort of the tail end of the days of, on month in weekends, everybody in the company was recruited to go out and count parts over the weekend to do the inventory stock checks. And of course, back then things were a little easier going. So, by about 3:00, the cooler is open and if beer on Saturday afternoon counting parts is your thing, that was perfectly acceptable. But the funny thing is, and talking about just how things have evolved in this industry, that first job. I mean, literally, I went into the office and I kid you not, there were stacks of paper that were as tall as me, probably 8 or 10 stacks in this little office, and a little keyboard and a monitor. And my boss, my new boss said, hey, just sit down and take a piece of paper and the date that's on that system, I want you to plug that date into our system. So that was an acknowledgement. That's how we did acknowledgements back in the day. We manually keyed that date one by one into this system. So things have certainly evolved since then.
No, that's a great story. And I know, back in the day, every branch used to have stock. And now, we've gone to these mega distribution centers, which we can get into later. But can you tell me a little bit about TTI, the commitment to the inventory and how that benefits both the customer and the supplier?
Yeah. So, interesting because my take with inventory and the great thing about being a TTI, my thoughts really align with the corporate culture. But TTI views inventory in a very offensive nature, right? So we see inventory as our value prop, and the more we can stock and the better job we can do of having the right inventory at the right time at the right price. We definitely feel like that puts us in an advantageous position, with our customers and with the customer base. So it's it's just a matter of, hey, if it's if it's product that we can put on the shelf and we can sell it, then we really need to take advantage of that and do that.
So interesting point, Brent. I mean, just quick question when we look at the inventory. Is mix important as well as much as volume and value?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And yes, it absolutely is. And actually, that is easily as important as depth and breadth, or I'm sorry, depth, because one of the things that actually kind of keeps me up at night a little bit is ideally in a perfect world, a customer comes in and is poking around with their bill of material and they've got their 20 part numbers that they're looking for. They're typically going to go in, put their 20 parts online into our system and hit the button. And the last thing we want to do is have them hit the button and 3 part numbers are green and the rest of them are red, meaning we've only got 3 of those 20 in stock. That's just not a very good position to be in to win. And so it's absolutely key to have that breadth that's going to win that business.
So just focusing on inventory a second, a little bit more. When you look at TTI, what is it you think that really makes us, from a customer's perspective, be able to always do the right thing and do it consistently?
I really, again, I think it's back to our culture, right? And it's people and parts. We talk about it all the time, internally and externally. It's having the right people in the positions that make them feel empowered to do the right thing and make the right decisions that ultimately help our suppliers, because we can't do anything without our suppliers and supplying the technology and getting the product in here, but also satisfying our customers through that people and parts mindset.
No, absolutely, Brent. I'm just going to take a moment to plug Brent and the TTI asset management team. Currently, out of our 4 core distributors, TTI is carrying more inventory than any of them. So there's a customer out there listening to it. TTI probably has it in stock. And they're in first place by a wide margin, carrying almost $20 million more than our next closest distributor. So, the inventory's here, the focus on inventory's here, and, Molex really values that. But, speaking of inventory and how it relates to NPIs, Brent, how do you approach Molex new product introductions?
Yeah, great question. So obviously, new product introductions are extremely important. I mean, not just for us, but for Molex, obviously as well. And our approach is we purchase every NPI that's offered, and if for no other reason, NPIs are interesting because let's say you have 5 NPIs. Well, you may only have one that really truly gains traction, right, over the course of the life cycle of the offering. And that's and the reason it's important to do all of them because you're only going to hit 20% of the offering. So if I sit there and try and sit down with me and some people inside of TTI, and we sit there and say, okay, well, we're going to do these 2, but we're going to skip those 2. Well, we may that may end up being a 0% hit rate. So it's really a modest investment. You guys do a great job with working in a little lower bin for us, getting the pricing right. It's really it just like I say, for a modest investment, it just makes sense to buy every single new product introduction.
So, Brent, one of the things Molex has done with our MPI program is we categorize them into 3 different categories: innovation, enhancement, and extensions. Innovation is a completely new product, something that, is market leading. Enhancement, maybe, hey, we add a seal to it, make it waterproof. Extension, maybe we're, doubling the circuit size or coming out with a wire-to-wire connector. How do you handle these 3 different types of MPIs?
Yeah, so great question. Really, it's just about. I mean, as we've already established, we're going to place the order for all new product introductions, regardless but probably two things that puts us in a good position to react to having this program in place. One is it gives us a chance to internally kind of make some decisions on how we want to promote the product and to what degree we want to promote the product. But then beyond that, just from an inventory standpoint, it definitely on some of those, it puts us in a position where we want to set our reorder points. So some we may want to just, maybe if it's put in a few thousand pieces and you set your reorder point, at a much lower quantity. So you may not see it for a while before you realize you're starting to sell it. But the ones that are definitely the innovators, we're going to set that reorder point basically at the quantity we buy the part at, because we really want to understand quickly what's going on with those and make sure that if we're going to get traction, we do not run out of that part.
No, absolutely. And I think one of the things too is that helps Molex with the market intelligence and letting us know, what of our innovative products are selling are going to be the next big thing in the market. So thank you.
Okay, Brent. So looking at inventory, I'd like to get your views on how you develop a process and how do you look at the inventory and work out where to broaden, where to deepen, and is there an inventory development strategy?
Yeah, so there is, and this is a very broad answer. So I'll try and keep it concise as I possibly can. But at a high level, certainly we have a what I'll call an ABC stratification, right? And it's not anything that's exclusive to TTI. I mean, it's every distributor in our industry has some sort of way to classify their products. Whether they use ABC or whatever, a number code or a combination of numbers and letters. They, whatever it is, they know which one is the best and which one is the worst, right? So in our world, an A item is the cream of the crop, and it can go all the way down to an L item, which is the slowest moving of the letter codes. And it's merely a combination of number of customers that buy the part and the dollar volume that sales that we get on those parts. So that's kind of the first level. And then really beyond that, the next level is, we just try to use all the data available to us. And one of the pieces of data, is we'll ask, in this case, Molex, we'll ask Molex, okay, can you give us some information on what's selling in the channel, right? So we could take that list and bounce it against what we're already stocking and look for those gaps and look to fill those gaps. And then really after that, and then obviously we talked about new product introductions, and really beyond that, it then just comes down to, talking to the branches, talking to the sales team, talking to the product managers in the branches, just getting ideas of what they're seeing or what they're suggesting, and following up on those leads or what they see as, potential area for an opportunity for them, and making sure we're positioning ourselves from an inventory standpoint on those products in the right way.
No, thank you, Brent. Switching subjects right now, is there anything going on in the industry today that either surprises you or makes you wonder what's going on? And, we've been through kind of a wild ride here the last 3 years, starting with COVID up until now, and everybody's had lows and a bunch of highs, and, just looking to get your opinion on what's going on in the market today.
Yeah, the biggest thing that really has come out is in the last several years, and obviously, this was COVID driven, but the whole, I'm going to call it a risk in the supply chain because of logistics. I mean, I'll tell you, as an asset manager, we have, at least at TTI and really any distributor, that, every distributor has a logistics person or a logistics team And as an asset manager, you just don't have to worry about logistics. You have to worry about inventory, right? So on the shelf inventory, on order, right? Those type of things. But to go through what we all went through as asset managers, having to manage logistics, I've learned way more about, logistics and shipping parts and finding parts and tracking parts than I ever wanted to know. So it surprised me how little we were all prepared for that. But obviously we've all come out of it and learned from it, and I think we'll be better at it. And I think the suppliers will be better at it, and I think the customers will be better at it, and they'll plan for that in the future, and not get caught like we all did, a little red-handed.
So looking at what we went through in 2022, Brent, and obviously you've categorized it there pretty concisely, so thank you for that. How do you see 2023 being any different? What are the challenges that we're sort of most concerned about as we move forward?
Well, to be honest, the good news for us in distribution, I think that there's a lot of customers, and I know there's a lot of customers that now see the value of distribution and what we can bring to the table. And they're actually reaching out to us and wanting to understand what our model is and how we can help. So I think at the end of the day, the as tough as it was, it definitely will help benefit distribution.
And Brent, just to follow up there, TTI is taking an aggressive approach, an offensive approach to inventory. How do you see that benefiting you in the economy and the market as we head into 2023?
Well, so obviously with our mindset as it relates, our being TTI's mindset as it relates to inventory, we're as a company, if things slow down and we go into the 2023 and there's still plenty of uncertainty, we react to the market, but we don't react as extreme, or I'll even call it as fast as maybe some of our competition. So I certainly think that just because of the way we view inventory, as you said, offensively, that'll be a benefit to us in the long run, just because we won't overreact.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, a really good place to finish, Brent. TTI takes that longer term look. We always have done, and we try and always do the best thing for the customer ultimately. And funny how often that ends up being the best thing for us as well. So that was Brent Bulger, Corporate Product Director for TTI, and thanks very much for your time and giving us an overview of TTI and Molex. Thank you.
Thank you, Brent.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
That's it for this episode of the TTI Distribution Download. For more information on any of the topics you heard about today, reach out to your nearby TTI branch at 1-800-CALL-TTI or visit us online at tti.com.